I spent 2.45 million yuan to buy an apartment in Huaqiao, and now I've lost nearly a million. I waited 3 whole years just to buy a place in this community. I started paying the down payment back in 2019. At that time, I didn't have social insurance, but the salesperson convinced us to start paying the down payment while also beginning to pay for social insurance. The idea was that after 2 years of social insurance payments, we could complete the home purchase procedures. But unexpectedly, after we had waited for a year, they helped us cancel the purchase because they weren't willing to wait another year for us. And we also didn't qualify to buy a home. Now, if you buy a house, you can even get a household registration with it, and the prices are so low. Honestly, we completely missed out on the good deals. My wish was to buy a home of my own in the city where I work hard. And I did buy one, but the year after I bought it, the price dropped. The most outrageous thing is that today, someone in our group chat is willing to sell their place for just 1 million. Back when we first came to buy in 2019, it was also over 2 million. So they lost almost half of their money, and then there's the house back in our hometown. Back when our child was in kindergarten in Shanghai, we planned to move back home for first grade. Before first grade started, we renovated our house in our hometown because it's pretty big, over 150 square meters in our county. Even with just a basic renovation, it cost us more than 200,000 yuan, but we ended up living there for less than 2 years. And by third grade, our child transferred back here. That money was basically wasted. And the worst part is we can't even sell the house back home, and over here we've lost so much money too. Oh my God. All these years I kept thinking about getting a new car. The car we have has been driven for so many years, but I just couldn't bring myself to spend the money because all of it was lost on the houses. I really can't get over it in my heart. Just wait and see. You'll see housing prices plummet, and a lot of people will be on their knees begging to sell their houses, but they still won't be able to. Then you'll realize something. After tossing and turning for 20 or 30 years, in the end, you're left with nothing. The era of real estate in China is completely over. How many people are born in China each year now? Around 7 or 8 million newborns, right? But do you know how many people die in China every year? With a population of 1.4 billion and an average lifespan of 80 years, that means about 10 million people die each year. So if you do the math, in 10 or 15 years, and with the numbers continuing to drop over the next decade, China's population will decrease by about 100 million. And all these people supposedly own homes. In the end, when these buildings become worthless, you'll realize that even if you want to tear them down, there's nowhere left to demolish. They're all sealed up. Whether new or second-hand homes, in many places the situation has collapsed and is a mess.
Second-hand homeowners have been waiting and hoping that after the new year, some destined buyer would come along to take their place and buy their property. But in the end, each one is more impatient than the last. Just take a look. The listings online have been dropping their prices like crazy lately, as if they're afraid that lowering the price by too little won't attract enough buyers. For example, a unit in Chengdu Jiayuan dropped 280,000 yuan in one go on February 12th, and a 162 square meter duplex in Heximeijiang Kuishui Yuan dropped 600,000 yuan on January 2nd. On February 18th, it dropped another 400,000 yuan. So in just a month and a half, the price went down by a full 1 million yuan. Do you think new properties are any better? They're all pretty much the same. There's a development in Beijing district called Zhongzhu Chengbang, and now it's selling for 7,051 yuan per square meter. That's right, 7,051 yuan per square meter. Speaking of this, I really want to ask the people in charge at Zhongzhu Chengbang, the ones who sold it for over 20,000 yuan per square meter a couple of years ago, was that you? And the ones who sold it for 11,000 yuan last year, was that still you? It's a rundown place with nothing to offer, but just because some so-called highly educated person slapped the name North Central Ring on it, they dare to claim it will be completely transformed in a few years. Isn't that ridiculous? I often tell my followers and friends, when buying a house, you must look at the amenities and the location. Don't listen to those property consultants bragging about how great the Binshui area is, or how Xiaodian is developing, or what the Guojiangxi can become. There are so many promising areas in Tianjin waiting to be developed. What makes you think that just because you buy there, it will definitely be better than anywhere else? Owners of second-hand homes are waiting to lower prices and cash out. New home developers are anxious to boost sales by offering more incentives. This year's so-called mini-spring in the market is full of fierce competition. Friends, you really need to weigh your options carefully. Don't think that just because a community's price has dropped from 17 or 18,000 to around 7,000, it's unique. In areas like Jiaxing around the Ring Road, communities with this kind of price drop are everywhere. There are plenty of them. It's not something that only happens here. This includes places like Haiyan, the restricted zones south of Jiangxi, as well as Haiyan and Pinghu. They're all the same. It's pretty much the same everywhere. Given the current housing prices, if you bought a few years ago, if your property has only dropped by half, then you're actually lucky. If it's only gone down by 20% or 30%, that's not even considered a loss. If your decline is just around the national average of about 20%, then you're actually making money, because even in places like Shanghai, even Shanghai has dropped by 30%, with declines reaching 30% even there. For areas around the city, like those on the outskirts of Shanghai or in many small cities across the country, you can imagine how much prices have fallen. In fact, when we look at some of the official data, that's just an average statistic. Everyone knows what these average statistics really mean, right? The real situation is likely much more severe than the data they release. As someone working on the front lines of real estate, I know all too well about the realities behind these numbers over the past few years. For example, take this residential complex. When new homes were being sold, the price was around 17,000 or 18,000 yuan per square meter. But now it's only 6,000 or 7,000 yuan. This is a hard fact, and that's the listed price. 7,000 yuan is the asking price. Let me tell you, there are even lower prices. If you actually want to close a deal, it could be even cheaper. And what about judicial auction properties? Those can go for 70% or 80% of the original price, right? Just think about how much prices have dropped. Basically, anyone who bought a house in the past few years has lost a ton of money. And I want to point out another issue to everyone. Back in the day, the total value of real estate nationwide used to be 450 trillion yuan, but now it's just a little over 300 trillion. So about 120 to 130 trillion yuan has evaporated. If you average that out per person, it's roughly 100,000 yuan each. That's how staggering the losses are. Back in 2015, during the stock market crash, the average loss per investor was about 25,000 yuan, I think, around 25,000 yuan. Just think about it. How much was lost that year? About 5 trillion yuan simply vanished, just evaporated into thin air. But compared to real estate, the stock market losses are nothing.
Just insignificant little crumbs, right? When it comes to real estate, the losses aren't like those in the stock market, are they? We're not talking about losing a few trillion, but losses in the hundreds of trillions. I just came out of a Japanese supermarket in Hubei, and the clerk told me that the number of Japanese and Taiwanese people here is now about 1/3 less than at its peak. That's pretty astonishing. I think Hubei is it's actually quite nice here. The whole neighborhood is very quiet, and even though this area is considered pretty upscale, the price per square meter has dropped to 60,000. Apartments here are now just over 60,000 per square meter. Wow, and this particular unit is really large, so the price per square meter is a bit lower. So what's the price per square meter here? Around 70,000? Not even 70, just over 60,000. How much was it at its most expensive before? At its peak was the price per square meter 80,000. For a well-decorated place, it was almost 100,000 per square meter. Now it's dropped to 60,000. This one, from 120,000, has dropped to 70,000 now.
From 100,000, it dropped to 70,000, then 65,000. From 100,000 down to 65,000, and from over 90,000 down to over 60,000. That's pretty normal. Across Shanghai, prices fell about 30% from the market peak. Here in the Huaqiao area, declines are steeper, mainly as many foreigners left.
No, it hasn't dropped more than that. Most of Shanghai has seen about a 35% drop. I really can't see it going any lower. The real estate agent mentioned residents are from Hong Kong, Macau, Taiwan, Japan, and South Korea.
Half the people gone. He said 50% decrease. He thinks the occupancy rate is okay with people moving in gradually, but it's not full. Feels like a lot of people have left.
It's really nice here, so how did the film studio end up abandoned? This is Zhuozhou Film and Television City, covering more than 2,000 MU. At first I thought it was the largest film shooting base in the country, but after checking I found out it's actually the largest in all of Asia and quite famous. Classics like the 1994 version of Romance of the Three Kingdoms, Water Margin, A Step into the Past, The Qin Empire, and The Legend of Mi Yue were all filmed here. It's said that just building the Bronze Sparrow Terrace here cost 50 million. Just now, as we were walking through the overgrown weeds, a few really large pheasants suddenly flew out and startled us. At first, we thought they were peacocks. Since this place has been abandoned, some areas are completely overrun with wild grass. Look at how beautiful the light is right now, and this place is truly huge. There aren't any signs anymore, and I have no sense of direction, so I don't even know which way to go. I heard there are Tang and Han dynasty cities inside. There's also a replica of the Ming and Qing imperial palaces. I think I'm probably walking around the Han city now. It really reminds me of scenes from TV dramas set in the Qin Han or Warring States periods. Even though it's now in ruins, that actually gives it a genuine sense of desolation and fragmentation. I think this place would be perfect for those popular Warring States running photo shoots you see online. Just put on a red robe and run, and you'd instantly capture that broken, tragic feeling of a princess from a fallen kingdom. There's no room for romance here, just a fallen nation, mountains and rivers still standing, and a city of spring overgrown with grass and trees. If they restored this place and charged for tickets, it'd easily be worth 59.91. It's a great spot for filming period dramas or taking historical costume photos, much better than the green screen effects used now. Folks, today I want to tell you about something really scary.